Good day to all you glorious Rascallian resonators. FOXSOL back here once more, doing another opinion video here on WutheringWaves. Hopefully you're having a great day. So, in today's video, we're going to talk about the tower adversity here in WutheringWaves, and I'll put it like this: there's a lot of conversation going around, pretty much from people who pretty much is positive about it, indifferent about it, and even hate it. So, let's go ahead and dive into this conversation together. Alrighty, so the tower adversity of WutheringWaves. There has been some different conversations and discussions, a lot of buzz if you would, around the community just about this game mode recently. From content creators and players sharing their opinions that range from high praises of the tower adversity as a great feature to pretty much calling it, mediocre or even outright disliking it. Tower adversity has sparked just a lot of different discussions. Some of them I've seen have been positive, some of them I've seen has become a little bit heated, if you would. So what is the deal? Is it a valuable in-game challenge, or does it fall short from expectations? Well, I like to take the time to go ahead and break it down with you guys and explore why these opinions are so divided and pretty much give you my own opinion as well. So one of the main criticisms I've seen floating around that players are talking about is that the tower adversity feels like a copy and paste version of Genshin Impact's Spyro Abyss. There's some players, even some content creators out there that argue that the mode is just a copy and paste version of the Spyro Abyss and doesn't innovate enough for a game like WutheringWaves. It just borrows too heavily from Genshin. These same players or even content creators feel like, when you look at WutheringWaves' unique mechanics, the tower adversity does not fit, because WutheringWaves is based on fast-paced, action combat. It has a dynamic approach. And, when you look at tower adversity, it's more of a structured wave-based challenge that a lot of players out there, reminisce around more that it's Spyro Abyss from Genshin. But here's the thing. Opinions like these, I do believe, are largely subjective, and there's many more other different opinions about the tower adversity, I will tell you this, but we're going to focus on this. What feels like a copy to one person might feel like a familiar, enjoyable challenge to someone else. The way we experience a game mode such as the tower adversity depends on where we are in the game. And that's what I think is going to bring us to our key point here, is player perspective. So I often talk about this on my streams, the current player statuses in WutheringWaves. Not every player is going to be experiencing the game the same way. And it's important to consider this when we're evaluating something like the tower adversity. For example, a new player might be more than overwhelmed with tower adversity. In fact, I would expect it to be so, because they might find it a little bit too difficult or even unapproachable. For them, they're still focusing on learning the mechanics, building their characters, and exploring the world, and pretty much learning what WutheringWaves is all about. On the flip side, you have players that are at the mid-game to the end game that have spent hundreds of hours, if you would, in the game and might view tower adversity completely different. They already have optimized teams. They've already learned the mechanics that they need to know inside and out, and they're hungry for a new challenge to test their skills. This creates a natural divide in how people perceive something like tower adversity, and this is one of the reasons why the opinions are so varied. So let's talk about these opinions from a perspective of different players, and starting off with the in-game players. The majority of players I feel that can comfortably complete tower adversity are these players that are at in-game. They're likely soul level 3. Their union level is pretty high. These are players that have spent a significant amount of time optimizing their teams, developing 3 strong setups to tackle the content. These are players that when they go into tower adversity, it feels very underwhelming. They've already surpassed the level of difficulty that the Tower Adversity has to offer, and without a higher ceiling to push towards, this mode would probably more than likely feel like a routine than a challenge. It would feel somewhat mediocre. It's not just about difficulty though, it's about the sense of accomplishment for these players. For in-game players, Tower Adversity might feel like, a lack of an excitement of overcoming something that is truly demanding to others. Now you see, if we flip the coin here, and look at the perspective of players who are still developing their accounts, for many of these players, Tower Adversity can feel pretty much overwhelming or even frustrating to these players. These are players who haven't yet to optimize their characters, they haven't built the time, they don't have the time to grind daily, or they just haven't simply reached a point where their accounts can handle the content. For them, Tower Adversity isn't just a game mode, it's a roadblock. They get in there, instead of getting 30 to 30 of the medals, they're only getting like 20 of the medals. It's something that highlights the gap between where they are now and where they need to be at to succeed. But does this mean that Tower Adversity is bad? When you look at either one of these perspectives, not necessarily in my personal opinion. It just means that different players are experiencing, the mode in different ways based on their current progression. Now, this is where the wide range of opinions for the Tower Adversity start to make a little bit of sense, if you would. Objectively, which is a word that's been thrown around quite a bit, no one's opinion is entirely right or wrong in my personal opinion. It all comes down to individual experiences, preferences, and where you're at in your journey as a player of WutheringWaves. Some players thrive on challenge while others feel stuck, and that's okay. It's a natural part of this game right now with the diverse player base that it has. You see, for me, I can share you my own personal perspective as someone who spent pretty much more than 500 hours in WutheringWaves. When I first started playing WutheringWaves, I was completely hooked. This was my first real gacha game, if you would, and everything felt fresh and exciting. I explored every inch of the map, I completed every challenge that came before me, I found every single chest, I did every single event. I even swiped the credit card to help build my teams a little bit faster, if you would. But over time, this is where, the more my progression grew, this is more where things started to change. After months and months of grinding, optimizing, and completing pretty much everything this game has to offer, I felt like I hit a wall, and the wall wasn't a difficulty wall, but a motivation wall. Game modes like Tower Adversity started to feel, less thrilling. The challenge, again, felt more like a routine damage check, if you would. For me, Tower Adversity has become a task that I complete just out of habit. When it resets, I log in, I clear, I move on. It no longer feels like an uphill battle that it once was, where every victory brought, a satisfying sense of pride. The ceiling that I used to see, those layers of difficulty that I have worked so hard to break through, has relatively disappeared. Now the ceiling is no longer a ceiling, it's a nice blue, lovely sky. And now I'm here sitting, waiting for the next big challenge, something that will push me to want to improve my teams, to keep the optimization going, and just reignite that sense of accomplishment. That's where, I'll say it like this. I am hopeful that maybe with version 2.0 that is coming around the horizon here on January 2nd, that it might bring something new to the table, more than just content, but something that would help raise the bar and give players like myself a real reason to push ourselves again. To really want to go ahead and go back into forcing ourselves to do the daily grind of echoes, optimizing our characters more than what they are now. And you see, with all this, at the end of the day, when it comes down to Tower Adversity and everything that everybody's talking about, Tower Adversity means different things to different players. For some, like we stated before, it's an exciting challenge. For others, it's a frustrating roadblock. And even for players like myself, I think it's more to where we looked at tower adversity, you know, and it's now just a routine task that has lost its appeal. It doesn't mean that my opinion, your opinion, or anyone else's opinion is wrong. It just means that we're all experiencing the game in our own different ways. And as a community, I think it is important to respect those different, those different opinions and recognize that everyone's journey in Wuthering Waves is unique. Whether you love tower adversity, whether you hate it, or whether you feel like myself, very much indifferent about it, your perspectives, in all honesty, is very valid. And I think that at the end of the day, we just need to learn, hey, it is what it is. So with all that being stated, I just want to go ahead and leave it with that. And I'll tell you what, how about you go ahead and tell me, what is your take on tower adversity? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's keep the conversation going. And, let's talk about it. So otherwise than that, guys, like always, keep it classy, keep it jazzing, always keep it real, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.